Hi and hello, metal fans of Portland. It's been a while since I've made a new episode because I'm sort of lacking in content. Not that I haven't been trying. I've been sort of digging around trying to find local bands to talk to, people to promote, just to keep your interest and help out the local the local metal bands. But I figured maybe I should just make a video or I should say a recording where I just sort of talk about the last concert I was at, a little bit about that, and maybe discuss a little bit of news. So what should we do first? Let's see here. How about this? Let's just get this out of the way. There's some news about the band Gwar, and Gwar is a band that's near and dear to my heart. It was actually, for me, the first metal band to really interest me in the genre. Early, when I was like a little kid, before I had any real taste in or preference in music, I remember my brother had Misfit CDs and some other bands, and I really don't know how, but I think I snuck into his CD book and just stole something that looked cool. I saw Skull, it was the Misfits, and I thought, wow, what's this? So I started listening to it. And I learned later that it was punk rock. And the thing about that genre is there's lots of interesting, cool bands in punk rock, but it's not my preferred genre. I like a few punk bands, but it's not really my thing for the most part. And it was like at that time when I was like, I really dig this sound. The guitars are awesome, and of course, Misfits is a very popular band, easy to like. So, of course, when I was a kid, I was just all about it because of the horror movie stuff going on, the look of it all. And I remember at that time, too, I would start watching horror movies. My cats are jingling their collars. Anyway, sorry. I wanted to say that I was a kid. I started watching horror movies when my dad would be sleeping, so nobody would know I was watching these movies, but I would just scare myself as a kid. I thought that was entertaining and really fun, and I don't know why. I think it was because when I was a little bit younger than that, it was like against the rules to be listening to this type of music, or even against the rules to watch these R-rated horror movies. And, I just really liked it. I got into it. And to this day, I still love all that stuff. Anyway, so it began with the Misfits, really. But that's punk rock. And it wasn't much longer when I found a Gwar CD and I popped it in. And I just loved it because it was hilarious. It was far out, indifferent, and I don't know, I just thought the costumes looked cool, and it just looked like a comic book, I think, to me. So I just got into it, and I started reading the backstories and things like that. So Gwar was the first metal band that I got into. And then it wasn't long after that when I started listening to Megadeth and Metallica and other metal bands, but nothing will ever take the place of Gwar in my heart, because ever since that time, I have been a massive Gwar fan, following everything they have done. And I have not missed a Gwar concert up until recently. I quit going, but we can discuss that another time. But anyways, the thing is really interesting about that is Gwar, I've seen a lot happen with them over the years. They've been through a lot recently, and I guess the most important news is that not long ago, I think for the most part, we all know that their guitarist, Flatus Maximus, the Corey Smoot, he passed away, sadly. And I think that threw Dave Brockie into a depression of some form or another, and I really don't know all the nitty-gritty details. I'm just assuming all this just from the things I've read and seen and discussed. But I think Dave Brockie really, really took that hard. And also, interestingly enough, after Flatus had died, Gwar had one concert, I think in Washington. Right after he died, they had canceled the concert because it was just, boom, he's dead, oh my god, shock. what do? You got to cancel that show. You got to cancel that show. It's just too much all at once. However, the band picked it up. I believe they went to the next show, which was in Washington. Now, I don't remember seeing any footage of that show in Washington on YouTube or hearing anything about it. So I don't know how that night went. I can't imagine it was a typical Gwar show. However, after that, they came to Portland, Oregon. That show, let me tell you, that show made headline news. It was all over every metal injection, you name it, all the different news papers or internet news sources for music were posting and sharing stories about that night, because Gwar had just been in this crazy, it was such a, in my opinion, historic moment, because everybody was grieving the loss of Corey Smoot, and Gwar, Odorous came out, I believe, completely wasted, drunk, and the other band members must have been as well, I assume. Wow, what are the odds of this? I'm actually getting a phone call from Mike Lewis right now. Sorry, buddy, I'm in the middle of this recording. I will call you back, I promise. So anyways, the band is on stage. They're suffering this loss, and the audience is a part of the show. They're a part of it intimately, like they would be at any other Gwar concert, but this is just different. It was just, everybody in the crowd was experiencing the same pain that you could see clearly the bandmates on stage were going through. And toward the end of the show, Odorous Urungus had taken off his outfit to expose Dave Brockie, and he was literally, stark-ass naked with nothing but a loincloth covering covering him, but I don't think he gave a shit. And he jumped into the crowd and was crowd surfing. And selfish me, of course, I was like, I don't want to touch his balls, so please get him away. Because everyone's lifting him up, and he's stark-ass naked, and I'm like, okay, just please don't come my direction. I don't want to get an ass cheek in my hand, trying to hold him up over my head. But he didn't. He was very close to me, though, but they ended up throwing him back on the stage, and he ends up going over to the guitar, Flatus Maximus's guitar, Corey Smoot's legendary, really kick-ass looking guitar. It's got this alien look. It has like horns and I think even like teeth on it and an eye, and it's got this interesting, unique, demonic, alien-like sort of look to it. It's a Schecter, I believe. And anyways, he grabs that and he pulls it down to the audience, and he's like looking at the audience. He's like, you can touch it, but don't you fucking do anything to it, or I swear to God, don't you do anything to it. And you could see he's clearly out of his mind, drunk, because he's not really thinking clearly. The backstage Gwar slaves or stage crew, they actually, you could see they had come out and were like, we better get this guitar away from Dave, because the audience, who knows what they could do with this. But a couple people did actually touch the guitar, and I really wish I was one of those people, because I really love Gwar, and that was just, in my opinion, a really special moment for whoever that person was. I hope that they're as big a fan as me to appreciate how impactful that was. But even if not, good for them for having that moment with the guitar. I had seen that guitar rock out many, many times, and it's just one of those things I guess only metalheads could understand, or Gwar fans could understand, I suppose, that just how cool that was to see that moment take place before your eyes. And the thing that ended up happening after that was, the show ends and everybody's like, well, it was just different than any other Gwar show I'd ever experienced. So anyways, fast forward a couple of years, Gwar has come and gone. I believe they released one more album, and they did come through Portland one more time to promote that album. So I saw them with Odorous after that, and their new guitarist, Pustulus Maximus, who was from Cannibal Corpse. And he actually, Pustulus Maximus, he actually has a photograph from Mike Lewis on his Facebook page, on his wallpaper. It's an official Mike Lewis photograph. And I that's just something kind of cool because it's a local guy and it's a big deal. So anyways, they had come through, but it wasn't very long after that when Dave Brockie sadly passed away. So this band has just been through hell and back, seriously. And I'm not just talking about their album Beyond Hell. I'm talking about this is a serious, devastating loss to the band. But they've picked up the pieces. They got their other bassist, his name's not coming to me right now, but he used to sing The Road Behind and I Hate Love songs, and he's just a staple in that band. You know, people love his music, and the Gwar has gone to him on several occasions and used him as Beefcake the Mighty and just to sing kick-ass metal songs with the band. So he is now the new lead singer. I did see them with the new lead singer, but after that, I actually decided that that's what I needed. I really feel like, well, a few things changed in my life as well, but aside from that, I just sort of stopped listening to Gwar, or not listening, but stopped going to Gwar concerts because I felt like with Dave passing, it just didn't feel the same. You know, I'm still, I guess you could say, mourning the loss, if you will. Anyway, so it is news now that Gwar bassist, his name is Jameson Land. He currently plays Beefcake the Mighty in the band. He's no longer going to be a part of the band. He's been with them for 8 years, though, which is quite a long time, and I must have seen him many, many times by now. And you know, I recognize him for sure. I definitely know this guy. He's played. I've seen him on YouTube at ROG concerts, or I think it's ROG, where it's Gwar Unmasked. He's playing the bass on stage. He wears what looks to be like kind of ska colors, the black and white checkers, and I think he has like a mohawk or something. I don't know why, but it just usually he's wearing his giant Beefcake gladiator helmet, so it's hard. You never really see his face, but anyways. He's leaving the band, and he is going to go and focus more on his family and friends and his career as a bus driver, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, I guess he's just done with the band. I will say this, though. Casey Orr, if he comes back into Gwar, I would really love that for him, because he used to, I think he's, well, Rigor Mortis is a band that Gwar definitely is closely tied to. If you just look at the two logos of the band, the skull with the crossbones behind it, Rigor Mortis has their logo. It looks very similar to Gwar's sort of logo, and the sound is kind of that cool thrashy sound. Rigor Mortis is almost like as if Gwar wasn't a gimmick band with the alien stuff. It's just a raw thrash metal band. It's just really good stuff. And Casey Orr, as I understand it, I met him backstage at 2007 Sounds of the Underground, and I was talking with him back then, and he told me that he was sort of responsible for Gwar coming back after the We Kill Everything album and coming out with their super heavy sound, the sound that they are sort of known for today. After that, I think they came out with Maximum Violence, which was just like a yes. At that time, after We Kill Everything, Maximum Violence comes out, and it was like a yes, this is exactly what the fans wanted. More of this, please. So they have been going with that sound ever since, slightly tweaking it here and there. And Casey Orr was with the band for a while. I want to say maybe 3 albums perhaps. But the point is that he came in and said, the fans love it when you play heavy metal music. Not to say that your fun stuff isn't cool, because everybody also appreciates that as well, but when Gwar is heavy, it is good. So let's do that. And they just went with it, and it's been golden ever since. Every album they create is awesome as a fan of that sound. So I think that if it's true that Jamie or yeah, Jameson Land is no longer going to be with the band, I think it would be awesome for Casey Orr to step in again, because why not? You know, you trust the guy. I've heard some people say that perhaps now is the best time to replace the Beefcake character. I don't think that's going to happen. It's just not what Gwar does. One thing that Gwar does is they sort of replace the musician, and they just have that musician perform as a character, the character of whatever you name it, fill in the blank. Flatus. Flatus has been retired because Corey Smoot kind of just was grandfathered into that role, and when he passed away, they decided that let's retire the character with him as homage to Smoot. Odorous, same thing. There's always been only one Odorous, and it just seems to make the most amount of sense to retire that character with the loss of Dave Brockie. However, with Flatus has gone through different musicians to fill that mask. The same can be said for Beefcake. And you know what Gwar typically does, and I believe even in the earliest days, Sly Mr. Hyman wasn't Danielle. But the point is that now Danielle has adopted that character and is using her in her current career. So anyways, the point is that like when characters come through Gwar, they might introduce a Scrotum Moon or a Techno Destructo. Those characters exist in the universe. That is what Gwar has created in their storyline. Just because you don't see them on stage anymore doesn't necessarily mean that's the end of them forever. You know, Sleazy P. Martini, for example, many years he didn't show up on stage with the band. He was just sort of gone. I don't know what he was doing during that time, but he wasn't with them. Sexecutioner, that's another character. He still exists. He doesn't tour with the band or perform music with them anymore, but every once in a while, you might just see him. You know, he might just make an appearance. His character still exists in the Gwar storyline, or whatever you want to call it. So just because Jameson is retiring from the band doesn't mean Beefcake's gone forever. It just seems to me that someone else will fill those shoes. So it'll be interesting to see what they do. I don't know, but I don't suspect that Beefcake will go away. Anywho, that's the news for Gwar. I hope, you know, the thing that's really tricky with this news is that after the loss of Odorous Urungus, the new lead singer, you know, the band has had to reinvent themselves because Dave Brockie is gone, and his style of lyric writing and his storytelling ability, it's gone. And what do? That was a lightning in a bottle. That guy is a true storyteller, a great artist, a great character. He performed Odorous so well that if you ever watch Dave Brockie in these interviews performing as Odorous, he's telling these hilarious jokes off the cuff, in character. Everything hits. It's always funny. And I don't know. I mean, it's obviously devastating that guy is not with us anymore. But the band still does well. Even still today, they have a new album out, The Blood of Gods, I think it's called, and the new guy who's filling those shoes, he's kicking ass. The music rocks. It's different, but it's still good, which is just fine for me. I think that's great. But with the new replacing the bass player, it's just one more thing to sort of, well, what do they do? What are they doing? I don't know. It'll be interesting to hear what the new album sounds like whenever they come out with one. So, alright, so that's the Gwar news. That was a long, detailed story, perhaps too long, I don't know. But let's get away from that. Let's talk about the last concert I went to. I went and saw Morbid Angel and Cannibal Corpse. It was a freaking snowy day that day. Parked in my regular parking garage, went to the Roseland Theater, and got through. There was I got to tell you, it was pretty killer. Stood in line. There was a nice line going around the building, as per usual at the Roseland. And it was neat because when I was at Ensimphirum, there was a dude who was in line at that show. He was walking in, He looked like a regular metalhead, except for one thing. He was wearing corpse paint, and it was in the style of a bath from Immortal. So if you could imagine that face paint, walking across the street on Hawthorne to the Hawthorne Theater, it was obviously sort of like you could see everybody's looking at this guy walk across the street like he's wearing corpse paint. That's a Bat's face paint. That's killer. I mean, you kind of want to cheer him on because I think it's badass. Nobody else is doing it, so why the fuck not? This guy's a big fan, clearly. So one thing that was kind of cool was I was standing in line, and sure enough, I see this dude. Must be about 30, 40 people ahead of me, but sure enough, he is there. He was not wearing the same face paint. He was wearing face paint, though. Not a Bat's face paint, just generic corpse paint. But I don't know, if he ever listens to this, keep it up, man. That shit's killer. I hope more people do it. But that was pretty cool. Talked to a dude in line a little bit. He said he was at that Ensiferum show. We kind of talked about it a little bit. Speaking of which, that show, I was a little bit disappointed that Ensiferum did not have Netta Skoog. That was disappointing big time. There was, seeing Ensiferum, you want to see the whole performance. Every instrument should be performed so you can hear the talented musicians play. I want to hear the band play, It sucks that they have fill-ins. That's ridiculous. Sound piping in through the speakers to fill in the fact that their musicians are not there. I guess it's just annoying because if you're paying that kind of money for a ticket, you want to see the damn band, So anyways, whatever. It was still a great show. Ensiferum always kicks ass. The mosh pit was awesome. This particular day, though, when I went to go see Cannibal Corpse, I did not get into the mosh pit. I just sort of stood on the sidelines and helped people if they fell down. But basically, I had my cell phone in my pocket. I wasn't going to risk breaking it, so I didn't jump in the pit. I just sort of pushed people around as they came by. But the show was pretty cool. Morbid. Lord of Gwar was really killer, I gotta say. I thought they were awesome on stage. The lead singer had this apron on with all these faces sewn on. It kind of looked like an H.R. Geiger painting, if you will, with the babies all the faces all sewn together. It looked really creepy and cool. I thought they were a pretty cool band. I definitely want to listen to more of them. And then I think it was Blood Incantation came on stage, I believe it was. However, Necrot was not there. That was disappointing because Immolation was not there either. And Immolation is not set to join that tour until I believe they're just now getting on board right now. But, you see that on the flyers all over the place, and then it just says underneath it in tiny letters, not until the middle of February or the middle of March or wherever the hell. Anyway, you kind of look at that and you're like, oh, sweet, Immolation. Oh, wait, not really. And then also Necrot's not going to be there, so that was lame. You only get to see a few of the bands, but let's just say this. Morbid Angel came on stage at the last second. Seriously. As Blood Incantation is leaving the stage, Morbid Angel is pulling into the parking lot. That's how close they were to not being at the show. And you can see everything as just like a beehive of activity. The crew was hustling their ass to get everything on stage as fast as possible to get the show going. And sure enough, after the first song, the lead singer has announced to the crowd, yeah, we were stuck on the side of the road all day long. There was these snowstorm down south in southern Oregon. I think they're coming from San Francisco. And they just almost didn't make it, so that was kind of like a close call, because it would have been pretty lame to pay the amount of money I paid for that ticket and not see several bands on the poster. That would have been pretty lame. But anyways, crazy thing happened. I was walking downstairs to just sort of look around and see if maybe I recognized anybody to go chat with, and sure enough, I actually did. And it's this girl I know, and I go up to her. I was like, "Hey, who are you here with?" And she looks at me like, "Who the fuck are you?" It took her a second or two. She finally recognized me. We're only acquaintances, so it's not like I should be too surprised that she didn't immediately recognize me. But anyways, she was like, "Oh my God, I thought you were trying to flirt with me, so I was giving you the bitch face." And I was like, "No, I was just saying hi. How's it going?" But in my mind, I was thinking like, hey, hey, I might be a married man, but what am I, chopped liver? Seriously, I mean, come on, maybe, no, I'm just joking. I'm kidding. But I was like, no, I'm just saying hi. It's not a big deal. How's it going? What's been up? So we kind of chit-chatted a little bit. She said she was there with a friend, but her friend was in the bathroom, wasn't feeling very good. She was getting sick because she had a little bit too much to drink. So not a big deal. I was like, oh, that kind of sucks, but what are you going to do? But she was concerned, obviously, for her friend. I go upstairs. The show's still going, watching the performance, but it's getting late, and I knew I had to leave early because I worked the next day. So I didn't stay for Cannibal Corpse, unfortunately. I had seen them enough, though, so it's not a huge deal to miss out on them. But still wish I could have stayed for sure. But as I was leaving, sure enough, I see my friend downstairs with her friend, a guy. I don't know his name. I never met him before, but they were having a heated discussion about what to do with their friend in the bathroom who's sick. And she sees me, and I say, hey, I'm going to hit the road. So I give her a little hug. I'm about to leave, and she goes, hey, how would you like to take my friend home? Because she's really sick and not feeling good at all. She's really drunk. And I'm like, I don't mind if it's on the way home, but how drunk are we talking here? Is she going to, like, barf in my car? I don't want that going on. So I was a little nervous. She was actually really cool, seriously. I did not mind doing it. The dude that she was talking to was this person's older brother, and naturally, he's overprotective. He's a nice guy. He was not out of line at all. I'm not complaining in any way. I totally respect where he's coming from. He's naturally concerned about his sister, who wouldn't be, and he doesn't know me, so why should he trust that I'm going to make sure she's safe? But, if he did know me any more than the few minutes we had the chat, he would probably know I'm not that type of person who would be untrustworthy. So yeah, sure enough, my friend said, yeah, let me go get her and bring her out here, and you guys can walk her to your car and get her home. So I didn't mind doing that so much. I got her home. I feel bad for her, though, because she missed out on a really good show. I've been in her shoes before. Definitely understand where she's coming from. If you ever have a moment to talk to my buddy Mike, he'll tell you about the time we went to a Behemoth concert and I drank way too much. Funny story about that. I was at the Hawthorne Theater, and that night in particular I decided I was going to drink Jägermeister. So I went to literally every single bar on that strip while I waited for the show to start. I was by myself. I was just killing time. Didn't think it was a big deal, so I was like, I'll just kill some time, shoot some Jaeger. I went to several different bars, and I just kept putting them down. I don't know, whoever would let me in, I went in there, and I drank maybe 2-3 shots of Jaeger at each bar I went to, and I ended up at the Baghdad Theater, where not, like one table next to mine was Watain, sitting there all together, just enjoying food and drinks, bullshitting about whatever. I kind of said hi to one of them, just, hey, how's it going? I really like your band, looking forward to seeing you tonight. But then I went back to minding my own business and drinking Jaeger. At this point, I am completely shit-faced, and as I'm leaving, I'm deciding it's probably time that I head back to the venue and go inside. But as I'm leaving, my boss is at the door at the Baghdad Theater, completely by coincidence. It's just one of these weird things where you like walk into somebody you know from work and you're like, oh, it's my boss, but I'm shit-faced, and how the hell do I look right now? Probably not good. How do I sound when I talk? Probably like an idiot. So I'm like, oh, how do I kind of get out of here? But he sees me and he goes, hey, Mike, how you doing? I'm like, hey, how's it going, bud? What's up? And he's like, let me get you a drink. And I immediately tell him, no, I have had enough to drink. Believe me, I don't need any more. And he's like, no, come on, just one. So we're standing in line, and I'm sitting there going, oh my God, if I drink any more, it's over. It's all over. I'm so drunk. I can barely walk. Like, this is not good. What am I doing? And so he's kind of talking to me about nothing. The room is spinning, and I'm like, barely coherent, barely able to keep my mind focused in the conversation. And in the middle of standing in line talking, I just turned around and walked away. I don't know why. I just I'm just going to remove myself from this moment. I'll explain when I'm sober. I don't care the repercussions of this. I just got to get away. I'm so shit-faced. So I was like, I got to get out of here. I go to the show, and I swear to God, Behemoth gets on stage, and it's the first song. The lights are flashing. It's like strobe light effect. So every step I'm taking is like really tripping me out. And I get into the mosh pit. I'm getting my ass handed to me. I'm being tossed around like a rag doll. I flop out on the ground. My hand gets trampled on. I felt like for like 3 weeks, my pinky must have been busted somehow because I couldn't barely move it. And this is after I got myself out of that mosh pit situation. I went to the bathroom and hurled. And then I sat on the bench in the hallway at the Hawthorne Theater like Phil from Wayne's World, where I was just partied out. Seriously, I was a zombie on that bench, just leaning up against the wall like, oh God, I'm so wrecked right now. Holy shit. And I just know that if I didn't give a shit. I really didn't. Anybody walking by must have just seen like a zombie sitting there lifeless and barely alive. And I was just like, I don't give a fuck how I look right now. I'm destroyed, completely destroyed. So I just sat there and just sort of, God almighty, I don't know. I don't even know how I got home, to be honest. I really don't. It's not coming to me right now. But anyways, the point is, I've been in her shoes, where you go to a concert, you get too drunk, and you cannot enjoy the show. And it was really lame because that particular show was the same show that the Nargle, this is the first concert he had come to in Portland since having his bone marrow transplant and being kind of, he had leukemia for a short period there. And I was worried that, not knowing anything about leukemia or how treatment works or any of that, I was like, I wonder if he's going to retire. I don't know how bad it is or what his condition is like. So I was worried that that could have been enough to take Behemoth out of the game, So when he came back to Portland, I was like, I have to see this show. I have to see Behemoth before something like this happens again. You never know, So it just sucks because I don't have any memory of seeing Behemoth. I know I was there. I was in the crowd. I only remember seeing their silhouettes on stage rocking out. I know I saw that microphone centerpiece he has for like a split second. But after that, it's all gone. I have no memories at all after that. So I it was just one of those shows where I really wish I wasn't so drunk because I want to get that back. I want to see it again, but not so wasted. So anyways, that was my most recent experience at a concert. And I think the next show I want to go to would have to probably be, I'm really looking forward to, Children of Bodom is going to be worth it. They are with Wolfheart and Swallow the Sun, of course, and Wolfheart's doing that show in Bend. I can't make it to Bend. That's just a bit too far for me to drive, but it would be killer to see Wolfheart. I've never seen them before. I've always wanted to. I definitely think it's worth it to check out Cannibal Corpse. They are fun. They are a hell of a good show. Definitely recommend checking them out. So until then, I guess it's just going to have to be, we'll see what comes up. Maybe I might get an interview again. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing Massive Scar Era, the Anima Effect, and Stovacor at the Twilight Cafe. I will be going to that show. That's next month. No question about it. I will be there because I got to see those bands perform. Also, I owe guy number 1 of Anonymia, a beer. So I definitely think it's going to be worth checking out. So I guess until then, this is Portland Metal Show kicking out. Till next time. Catch you later.